Werner and me. This is Werner on my right. Say hello, Werner.
Hello, Werner.
All right, so tonight's going to be a very interesting topic. I don't know. Does this go into the world of conspiracy? No, it's
No, not at all. No, no. This is actually just a little bit of just facts. It's just some facts, just interesting facts about the adult industry, and technology. How people don't always quite know these things because they are a what's called a quiet trendsetter in the tech space. And then I mean, there's a couple of common things that people may know about, which we'll go over, but it's certainly not conspiracy stuff. 100% fact.
mm,
And I think what we'll kind of see is that at the end of the day, this stuff happens not because it's sinister or anything like that. It's kind of just human nature.
yeah.
you know, um, and and I get there's sort of two sides to this whole sort of adult industry thing, and which we'll also touch on.
Hmm.
So, um, but it's definitely set. They've definitely set some very interesting standards in the technology space for quite some time. So yeah, not a conspiracy, just some fun. Hopefully we can have a few laughs while we uncover some truths about how the adult industry impacted technology.
Is it gonna get
We
dirty?
tried. Well, it depends on your take, though. I mean, do you consider two consenting adults being intimate being dirty?
No.
No, no. So, but do you consider someone being used and abused being dirty? And then yeah, of course. So two sides to every coin. So, but this discussion, we're going to keep it clean. I'm not, we're not going to show any porn. We are going to we're going to look at some statistics on Pornhub's Insight page. So they've got a blog there, and it's actually, they are, they're really, if you think about it, they're one of the biggest content providers, and they have a very good data team that looks at their data and they publish it like on a regular basis. And that's actually quite interesting. They make it publicly available. And I think people will be quite shocked to see how social things like COVID affects adult material consumption, and also how the production has shifted from what you'd consider traditional studio kind of productions to mostly amateur.
Mm.
And I think and how I think it's a positive thing. But anyway, so let's just dive right in.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't know.
for lack of
I
a
mean,
better
I don't
word.
know. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, we said, shall we muff dive just right in? No. That would be too obvious. So let's just dive right in. So I think the one of me. I mean, I don't know if we've got any people watching right now, and but I don't know if anybody has any sort of it's a, interesting tidbits that they would like to share, about what they may believe how the adult industry has made an impact on technology over the last, say, 100 years. So if you wanna throw some comments in there, that'd be great. Maybe let's hear some questions like what they've heard, what they haven't heard. But let's start off with one of the sort of when is the first sort of official piece of pornography material was made, and this is something that's in discussion, and it's called La Couchère de la Marie, which is a short film. It's about 2 minutes long, that shows a lady undressing. And she takes off several layers, and she still remains dressed at the end. So it's, by modern standards, it is as timid as a couple of kids playing in the park, But for 1896, just taking off her, just her top frock would have been considered like, oh my gosh, So it's quite interesting, and that was
Yeah.
one of the very first sort of film things, and you can actually find it on YouTube. You can go search for it. It's called Le Coucher de la Marie, 1 minute 41 seconds. Yeah, and it's quite interesting. You know, you can go watch it. It's quite entertaining. Um, but it was basically, once someone, the first moment somebody got a camera, a working camera, that they could make a film, yeah, that's basically when the first adult stuff sort of started coming out. We see ancient artworks, and these, paintings, where people are painting nudes and that kind of stuff when it was considered art. So it's very much in our nature. So anyway, that's sort of the first sort of piece of technology where it was used in the first official sort of porn adult, right?
So would
Right.
you
So
say that
then
that is the first adult film ever made, like ever, film wise?
well, that's sort of that's what it's what is the actually what it say? It's generally considered the first pornographic film in existence.
But
Now,
okay,
when they
so
say generally considered, it may mean that someone had a camera, in his basement. One of the like the first that made a camera. I'm pretty sure he made it for the fact because he was like, hey, I got some cuties, like, you know. So
but hold on. So okay, so in the video, the person or the female,
yeah,
so there's
yeah, we can.
it's a very
I can throw it up on the screen
no. Well,
if you.
what I'm trying to ask is, um, it you said that the no clothes came off really. So I
Well,
mean,
I mean, she
can
took
you
several
even
layers off,
consider
but
it
she was
adult
still.
film though? If it's not that, I mean,
Well, it's set in their bedroom, and she's sitting there with what seems to be her fiance or her husband or something. So it
the
seems
plumber.
like it's like the wedding evening. No, 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 no. He's dressed in like he's like it looks like they just came from a wedding totally. So it seems like it's
Okay.
your typical your wedding night,
Yes.
like that first big big thing. So definitely I think it wouldn't have been considered it would have been considered cricket, old chap, to show a lady and a gentleman in the bedroom. It's rather unfitting,
Yeah.
so
So
even for like 30s and
so it's
so
maybe the
for
equivalent of like we've seen in our recent time now. If you look at the past maybe 10, 15 years of TV, more and more people or more and more how do I say this? What's the word I'm looking for? The media, not the media, um,
it's like a
society.
normalization.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
things get
are.
normalized, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I
So
get what you're saying. So I mean, if you take 1896, when this was made, this is arguably, if you had to draw a parallel to 2020, you're talking about that versus a 10-man gangbang.
mm,
It's arguably the same thing in terms of taboo levels.
mm,
So we've certainly as a society over the last 100 and something years, we've definitely changed our attitudes towards sex and sexual content. And what do we consider, you know, lame and softcore, because you've got the traditional softcore porn and then the hardcore porn and all that kind of stuff. So 20 years ago, softcore was you'd maybe see up to like and there's like a hint of a nipple. Today softcore is like you literally just don't see penetration.
mm.
So but other than that, it's so things change. The goalposts keep changing. So
So this is
it
probably
doesn't just
that movie was probably the first time that that barrier that and I don't mean to make this sound good, but I'm just trying to understand that the I'm trying to understand the big deal behind it. So basically, that was like the moment where society started to change. Like that person who made that movie was like, boom, I'm going to put this out there, and then society saw it, and then from there it started. Okay, well, now we can maybe go
and
into
and that's just
sex
film.
scenes or
That's
whatever.
just film, right? That
Yeah.
was the first film. I mean, let's consider without a shadow of a doubt that pictures, hand-drawn pictures, would have existed.
Mm,
You know,
that's true.
the printing press, erotic written books would have existed. Some of them would have been considered contraband.
Mm.
So I didn't quite go into that kind of history, because I didn't quite, I didn't look at that as sort of adult entertainment in the sense
No.
of cinema, like cinematic
Yeah,
type
yeah.
technology, right? So that's kind of where I've been sort of focusing this sort of discussion. But definitely pre that, um, yeah. And it's interesting, we as humans believe we are very different to animals, and if you watch these animal channels,
Mm.
right, on Netflix, and you watch this little bird, you say, well, watch a little male, like he does his dance and he cleans his posse, and it's like it's a hell of a song and a dance and it's entertainment, and the little girly bird, she like watches it, and only if she's 100% impressed will she's like, okay, mate, pull it, and then it's 3 seconds and it's over and then it's gone, and then he's off to the next bird.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and humans are very similar. We do. I'm not saying we're quite exactly the same, but we do create longer term bonds. But I think we have made a certain aspect of us that is fairly normal, natural, wanting to procreate, and I think it stems from wanting to procreate. This interest, the sexual interest, right, which is largely from a very young age, it's suppressed and it's made taboo. Therefore, anything that is made taboo becomes something that people want.
Mm.
So, and this is where I'm kind of like always, freedom of expression, consumption, and that kind of stuff should always reign supreme. But you should never allow any form of oppression.
Mm.
So your freedom shouldn't oppress someone else. That's sort of the basic. But anyway, so 1896, roughly around there. That's your first film pornographic experience. French. It's French. Of course, it would be the French. Yeah, madame, please, would you take off your dress for me? Huh?
Yeah, they didn't help their stereotype by
No, of course not. But bless them, eh? Bless them, eh? Lovely people. Um, So and there apparently was a high demand for this early, they considered a masterpiece. So
Okay.
and that would have led the sort of led the consumption and the expansion of that particular product, right? Which, and as something gets consumed more and produced more, the price comes down and it becomes more accessible to everyone else. That's a very important thing to remember about trendsetters and trend-setting technology, right?
Okay.
Is you when and this is when you look in the business world, right? You will see that whenever business analysts look at any new kind of product,
Yeah.
there is always, they first target the higher target markets because those are the first adopters. So because they've got the spare cash to spend. So that's where all the marketing goes at first, because the product is expensive. And as those guys buy, it allows these companies to start making the product for cheaper, and then they go for the lower LSM markets. And a good example of this would be, for argument's sake, like your drone market. When drones came out, they were ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
Now you can get like tiny little drones for next to nothing.
Yeah.
Same thing goes for pretty much any technology, and we'll carry on, looking at how the adult industry, specifically in terms of everyday kind of tech that we use today, how it got there. Right. So from there, fast forward to around about the 60s. This is where the porn industry, it's a young British glam photographer, Harrison Marks, began making 8mm short films of women undressing and posing topless. And these became quite, they were called them glamour home movies.
Okay.
Right. So it's like so this is kind of like, it's almost like your, what's nowadays almost considered a soft core, glam core kind of genre, right? Doesn't really show anything. It's mostly just women with just topless, and you'll see some low nudity. Anyway, that took off, and which then took the 8mm projector and the 8mm productions just took off. So back in the day,
Okay.
if you wanted to watch a little bit of porn, in the late 80s and that kind of stuff, you'd often still find guys with these old things on these film reels, right?
Yes.
And they would like have them at their homes, and it's like it's because it's these, because it was largely considered contraband in most countries. Those kind of things lasted, and they were sort of handed down, from down the
Yeah.
family tree, or from connoisseur to connoisseur, and so it wasn't uncommon to still see those things around in the 80s, and I'm pretty sure if you go dig around today, you can still find it. And as you swear, there was a classic pop culture film, I think it was Nicolas Cage was in it, called 8mm,
Yes.
which was about a snuff film.
Yes.
Which is obviously it's a much more darker and seedier side of it.
Yes.
That's like a whole other things of this, right?
Yes, I remember
that. But 8mm was quite a big format that was used quite widely, and maybe not so much in South Africa. We always get the arse end of it, but definitely in the US. Right. So then moving on from there, in the 70s. There's this battle between VHS and Betamax, right?
Yes.
So Betamax had a better quality, sort of this wide format from Sony, but it only held 60 minutes worth of footage, whereas VHS could go, you could have VHS tapes up to 3 hours, so and Sony kind of thought it would have been, people would rather want a better experience as opposed to the more storage capacity. And then it turned out they were wrong, So obviously, people and again, it's just the adult industry started adopting VHS, and that was what pushed the sales of VHS recorders as well and players. Even though the prices were like $800, it's if you're ever bringing out some tech, you first want to file it in that kind of space, and if the adult industry adopts it, you're good. You've got it made, right? Right. So that is probably the most common one that most people would know about, is that that basically VHS killed Betamax, and that was largely due to the adult industry. Wow. For no other reason, because most movies were still kind of short in that sort of 60-minute kind of range. But yeah, so Sony kind of lost out there. Other things, some trivia. In about 2001, the adult sites contributed to about like 70,000. What we would consider porn sites, but today there's some 4.2 million.
Jeez. Wow.
That's quite a. That's insane, right? It's madness. So there's 4.2 million sites, right? And we'll get into. Some of them would be small, some of them would be personal sites, some of them, so they vary in size and volume that they transmit and all that kind of stuff. Some of the bigger guys like Pornhub, they do, and we'll go in some of those stats from 2019. When you see those numbers, your head is going to explode, right? It's sheer madness, right? It shows you like the jump. It's been 19 years. In 19 years, you went from 70,000 sites to 4.2 million.
Shit.
Now,
wow.
Now, most people don't really understand what it takes to run internet sites and all this kind of stuff, So it's, and I will guarantee that a lot of the advances made in software and software development and technology or content delivery over the internet, you can most likely thank the adult industry that pioneered it, more than likely. Because those are usually the guys who have the most money and have the biggest use case in terms of that music. So, and they do. It's if you go look at some of these numbers that these guys have, and this business that they run, they're worth fortunes. So, some of the other things that's quite interesting, one of the first industries to pioneer online payments. So of course, very few people take
Really?
their clothes off for free. Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, that
So
okay, yeah, that
so
would make
yeah,
sense though. That would make sense
yeah. Of
because
course,
they've been doing it for a while.
so say for the people out there who still pay and subscribe to sites, you can thank Richard Gordon. In the 90s, he founded electronic card systems. It's a credit card transaction for a wide range of pornographic sites. Um,
Wow.
so yeah, it's so your first payment systems probably would have really supported that. Yeah. Right. And then just like Betamax, the adult industry also killed HD DVD, right?
Mm,
But this is where Sony learned their lesson and they realized, more storage is better than high quality.
mm.
So HD DVD was a better quality, so you could have a better quality picture and stuff on it, but the storage capacity wasn't that much that of Blu-ray.
Mm.
So once the adult industry started adopting Blu-ray as a standard, Blu-ray beat out HD DVD. HD DVD featured for a little while. It's been probably about a year or two or so. Wasn't too long.
Yeah, it was very short.
Yeah, yeah, it was very short, and then it sort of went downhill from there.
Okay, well,
Um,
but don't. I mean, does anyone really watch adult content on Blu-ray? I mean, isn't it mainly either streamed or downloaded? So how would
Man,
Blu-ray really have been?
you would be surprised.
Really?
You'd be surprised. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, look nowadays, people pay for HD subscriptions, so they stream HD content. But I mean, you can still buy DVDs and Blu-ray DVDs for Blu-ray productions. And that is got super high def, and it's got behind the scenes footage, and look, it is quite an interesting world once you kind of see that side of it. How people like how some people are. It's just like it's like guys who collect cards. There's some guys who have like collections of like DVD boxes, and it's
Now
like their
that I
pride and
know.
joy.
Yeah, that I know. That's not news, but like I don't know. Yeah, I find it. Yeah, okay. I guess if they want to have the hard copy of their favorite movie, then they would.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
yeah,
that makes sense.
and
Remind
these
me.
and some of these things become collector items over time. It
That's true.
depends on that. It's look, and there are some. I mean, think about it. There are subcultures, and like with baseball cards,
Yes.
there are subcultures for this, and it's huge, and it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Remind
Um,
me to ask you a question. I'm gonna see if this journey is gonna lead us there. But
okay.
speaking about how the adult industry has, like so far, it's influenced 8 millimeter, it's influenced VHS and DVD and Blu-ray. So I want to see. I think I know one thing it also has influence, but I'll wait and
Oh
see if you
yeah,
touch on it.
no, no, yeah, yeah. You want to ask the robotics and the cybernetics
No,
and that kind of
actually
stuff
not. No,
question,
no, no.
right?
Well, you're close.
Okay,
You're close, but no, no. I know about that stuff.
okay,
I've seen the documentaries on Netflix about that. That's scary shit.
okay. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then look, I mean, again, it just speaks to our nature as beings, right?
Mm.
And um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of psychology behind this that is interesting, but we'll touch on that once we've gone through the tech stuff.
All right, cool.
So,
I just want to say that Storm
uh,
is watching. He says, "Hi guys." First, his comment was, "I'm a bit late. Sorry about that. At least I didn't come prematurely." Good evening, guys.
the pun, the puns, the puns, the puns.
Tracy Lee Wagner is here, and she says hi. And Storm also said, "Buy Blu-ray for bloopers, deleted scenes, and plus the director's cut." So he has a point.
Exactly,
He has a
exactly.
point.
There's
I don't know
the,
about bloopers,
I
but
mean, yeah, there's the guys who go, okay, look, man, you have to have the extended version of the scene. This guy bangs for like a whole 3 minutes extra in this position. You know, it's
yeah.
look, I mean, um, yeah, look at this. Like I said, it is very interesting culture, especially people that comment on videos online, and the thing that I find the most interesting is that there are share buttons,
Yeah,
to
that's
Facebook.
where did it?
It's like
Yeah, what the?
it's like it's like you go, yeah, I'm sure mom wants to see this gangbang.
I mean, I understand a share button for like copying the link and maybe WhatsApping it to like a guy or whatever. Maybe your
Yeah,
wife,
like
if
a
you
mate,
both of
whatever.
you watch porn. I don't know, but to put it on
Like Facebook.
Facebook.
I'm like, all right. Like, what's next? They're gonna add LinkedIn. Like, publish this to LinkedIn. Yo, guys, you've got to see this. Like, if you're gonna get yourself a PA, this is the kind of shit you want to look into.
Yeah, she really goes the extra
Crazy stuff.
mile.
So, another interesting thing is that it was sort of partly responsible for the ushering in of high speed internet connectivity. Yeah. So, Penthouse magazine was apparently quite ahead of the curve in the 90s
Hmm.
when they began distributing 2400 baud modems. Now, I don't know if you know what 2400 baud and that kind of stuff means, right? So 2400 baud basically meant like, and I maybe I speak under correction, but you had like a 2400 baud, then you had from that it was like a 4800, and then you had a 9600, and then it went up to 12,000, 12,400 somewhere, and that's basically it starts with like 9 kilobits per second, or like 2400 baud would be like 2.4 kilobits per second. That is stupidly slow. I mean, that is compared to today, that is just, I mean, we like today, a slow connection is like 10 megabits per second.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like 2.4 kilobytes per second,
Sure.
kilobits. I'm not exactly sure. I always get a little bit confused between the two. Right. So in the 90s, they distributed these modems. So you actually had a modem that you plug into your phone and you get like basically this really like, is where you could stream down content, and from Penthouse over these modems. So they actually gave you the means to consume their content, which is a very,
Wow.
it seems crazy, but nowadays it's like the kind of model,
Yeah.
they kind of give you the means to consume it. So the device, the means is you just pay for the content.
Yeah.
So way ahead of the curve. The technology just wasn't quite right at the time. Things like live chatting and video conferencing. So I don't necessarily think they were some of the first ones to do it, but I think they were definitely some of the ones that would first sort of adopt this at sort of like a bigger scale, where you would have live online performances, where you'd have these cam girls that would perform, and they could have real-time chats and interactions that are private
Uh,
and isolated and paid for and those kind of things. So you had like this kind of like you and I are chatting
yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah.
but they had that tech before Skype really could do video call.
That's true. Shit.
The- exactly. So that kind of stuff existed in that space before it became mainstream for everyday kind of communication. So um, things like VR porn is now a thing, like virtual reality porn. So
That's what I was
you
gonna
get
ask
your
you. See, I thought you were gonna go there. Yeah, that was what I was gonna
Oculus
ask about.
Rift, of course. I mean, the Oculus Rift and those kind of things, they have shipped major amounts, and I'm gonna tell you, like a large portion of that, some of it's for games for sure, but there are guys just sitting there with these things on their face, just like, just you know.
No,
How do you
man.
even know if someone like sneaks
That's
in the
the
room? It's
worst
like
though.
crazy.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, if you like, I don't understand that. Like, if you put something on your, because that thing covers like underneath your
Everything,
eyes,
and it sits
around your
out.
eyes.
Yeah,
So now
yeah,
you're doing your thing, and your wife,
yeah.
son, daughter, whatever walks in.
You got your earphones in, you're just like, oh yeah, yeah. And you're
No.
seeing like Stevie Wonder going sideways, doing your thing. Your wife and your children standing there just like,
Oh my word, that's that. No, oh my God, no, no. I'm sure it's
So
happened.
yeah, no,
It's
VR,
probably happened
yeah,
to
yeah.
someone.
Now look, VR porn is definitely a thing. Games, there are games which are, role playing games where you have your character and you can assume any kind of character, and people, so they'll play out their kind of fetishes in these games, so they can. It's kind of like the chat rooms. People used to do this in chat
Yes.
rooms. They would have like a one-on-one chat. It's just now a more advanced version of that. It's like people will express themselves,
Mhm.
but they no longer need their imagination. They've got a 3D avatar that's part man, part horse, part some other crazy ass. I don't know what the hell they want to be. And then they go like a 4-to-1 team on. So I don't know. People do crazy, crazy shit.
Wow.
You know, um, but here's the thing: is it like, I mean, consider, right? We live on a planet with nearly like 8 billion people, right?
Yeah.
You would consider there's some people that has some,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my view is always, if they're not hurting someone, you know, a lot of these people live fantasy lives because they don't have anything else to do, And is it because that the thing is there to take their time, or is it just would they have found something else because they just don't have the drive
No,
to
look,
do something with your life?
like you said, as long as they're not hurting anyone,
Yeah,
that if you
freedom,
want to,
freedom, freedom of choice.
I mean, like you get people who dress up in squirrel outfits and like what's that called, bestiality or whatever, beastie, I don't
Mm,
know,
mm,
um, and they'll dress up as like animals and then they'll hump each other, like
yeah,
that, whatever floats your boat. I mean, I'm not inclined. I don't. That's not my
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I'm very
Look, I'm
traditional. Let me
a,
put it
I'm a
out.
very, I'm a very sort of, what they would consider vanilla kind of guy. I'm,
Yes,
I'm very, I'm very, I'm a very vanilla kind of person.
yes,
But I
and I like
find the
my
topic
vanilla.
of human, yeah, but I find the topic of humans and human sexuality and how people behave, you know, I find that fascinating.
No, it is an
Because it
interesting. Yeah.
is what basically drives our entire societal structure.
Hmm.
When you whittle everything down, when you go and everything down to it, it's basically a very complex song and dance that we do as a society for reproductive purposes,
Yeah.
and maybe not just that, but also for having some acceptance and affection. And it gets expressed in weird ways. It's yeah, but it
Like I
takes all
said,
kinds.
yeah, like I said, if it's not
Takes all kinds.
hurting anyone, then fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So before we continue, Tracy has been commenting a lot.
So, I would almost think that it's a bit more of a subjective thing more than it's an objective thing.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it really depends on who you speak to. I think for the most part, a lot of people are more accepting of it to a certain extent. You know, there are still people that are vehemently against it
Hmm.
in all forms. Because they say it's degrading to women. And these are all very valid arguments. I do definitely think we do have a much wider acceptance. I mean, you just have to look at the numbers. People won't necessarily speak about it in the open because most people are ashamed of admitting that they watch porn and they masturbate. But if you say you don't, you're a liar. And if you say that you do, you're a wanker. So it's kind of like a catch-22.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's as most. I think the adult answer here that most sort of psychologists and sexologists and all that kind of stuff will also say is that we are getting a bit more of as a general, I think a bit more of a healthier balance with our association of our sexuality and our human beings. And I do think it will become more mainstream, and I think we'll see, and we're already seeing a massive change in the consumption pattern.
Hmm.
And I'll speak a little bit to that once we start going into the stats, which we'll go into just now. But yeah, no, definitely. My personal view is it's definitely a bit more. It's getting more accepted, and I think the more you talk about it in a rational manner, and you look at the pros and the cons, because there are pros and cons. You can't say there's just good or just bad.
Hmm.
Um, and there's some good documentaries on. There's one, two specifically on Netflix called after the porn or when porn ends and so on. And it's about the life of people that, actors, call them actors for that's been in the industry. Some has been in the industry for 30, 40 years, some of them has been for, so it's like a nice cross cut, so you see both the good side and the bad side. There are some of them which went in there with their minds open. They realized, look, this is just entertainment. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to go in with a bang, pardon the pun, make my money and get out.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of them did. They went in, they had a business plan. They went in there, they made their money, they cashed out, they started other businesses, and they're happy. Many of these women, there's some of them, they go on and this one woman, she's now a bounty hunter, and she raised her daughter on her own, and she's a tough chick. I mean, I take my hat off to her, once she went in, she did her thing, she did her stint, she made some bucks, and then she went and like, I tell you what, I mean, I wouldn't fuck with her, I would, but I wouldn't. It's a weird thing.
Yeah.
So it's, so there's some of them which have had positive experiences, and there's some of them which have had horrible experiences, so it's not a one shoe fits all, I think we kind of have to do the best we can and be more aware of how these things are made and the production processes, and so if you do watch these things, you do consume it, at least have a bit of ethics around it, support amateurs, go directly to the produce, skip the big production houses, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
which is what we're seeing is happening anyway.
Yes. Okay, so before you get into the rest of the stuff, we do have two other questions, but what I'm going to do is, because they're very good questions, so Storm and Tracy, thank you for the questions. We will address your questions as soon as Werner is done going through his next bit of information, because I'm sure once we get into that, there's going to be even more questions. So we'll have a Q&A just before we end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely more of a techie, I mean, the psychology side of it is very interesting, but I'm not a psychologist. I'm a techie. I read a lot about the psychology, but that's just a hobby. So everything that you hear from me is just an opinion. It's just an opinion. It's not, So anyway, so some of the tech stuff, I don't know if you ever, okay.
Yeah, so keep the questions coming as we go along with Werner now. Just keep the questions coming, and I will address them. We'll have a Q&A at the end of his bit now. So where were we, and what are we going into now?
Okay, so we're still talking about some of the tech influences. There's just a couple of, it's not big stuff, but it's just useful to mention. Things like DRM. I don't know if you've ever heard of digital rights management. So a lot of games nowadays, you buy them, you can't copy them, etc., because they have DRM. Right. A lot of this was originally innovated by the adult industry because obviously you don't want people just to copy your stuff, right? So a lot of that tech was invented by them. Encryption, a lot of that stuff invented by them. Geolocation, so in order to serve up ads and content and stuff based on where you are, so depending on what site you go to, there's always something that flash up. It says, there's women 5 kilometers away from your place that want to meet. It's so, and they'll say your address. It's like that kind of stuff. You go, really? No, there isn't. It's a lie. There's no one within 5 kilometers radius. I live in the middle of nowhere, dude. So they're lying. Okay, but they do have some good geolocation stuff that they've put together. So they say geolocation software is most identified with location-based social networking platforms like Foursquare and Gowalla. So like Foursquare and those kind of things, they make very much use of where you are. You can check in, and also Tinder and that kind of stuff. It's all about your location, where you are, etc. Social networking and peer-to-peer sharing, right? So this is one of the things that's quite interesting. It's sort of before the sort of big data centers and the big porn sites. People had all these little video files and MPEGs and things like that they were sharing via Kazaa and all these sort of peer-to-peer type apps. So you have what is basically considered a distributed file system that sits across numerous computers across the internet, right? And you can download a file, and this thing sort of knows where to find the bits. Which is, if you think about it, that is a phenomenal piece of technology for the era,
Yeah.
right? So you and that is almost how a lot of the sort of blockchain type technologies work. Is right? You actually share a certain portion of um, the the files and the data and stuff is on certain machines, right? And they answer certain parts of that data segments, and you have this overall protocol or networks that figures out where all the data sits and who gets it and so on and so forth, right? But this stuff was done way before for sharing porn. So
Wow.
and music, music until the music producing companies started suing the guy like Napster and Kazaa and all this kind of stuff, and they won and had them shut down. Right. So that's sort of some of the most interesting. Let's see, did I miss anything of the? Right. So, I mean, that's some of the just sort of past tech. Obviously, some of the future stuff. 5G is gonna, obviously it's the next generation network. It's probably going to deliver way more bandwidth, and with that comes you'll probably find even higher definition. And you may even find that virtual reality adult material becomes much more prevalent because of just the market penetration of 5G. I think like things like cybernetics and robotics. This has been coming for quite some years as well, really. Yeah, and I think I cracked a joke years ago. I said like leave it up to humans to go build a artificial human, that can fake emotions and that can fake, bodily actions and all that kind of stuff. And then we go, fuck it. That's it's like we built all this tech and then we stick our dick in.
Yeah. Oh my
It's when you bring it down to that level, it's actually, it's actually quite bizarre. But it's gonna happen, and I don't think, you know, and it's a part of it's just a part of how the world works.
Yeah.
I think there will always be people that will end up without partners and they would prefer to have a machine than a person, because a lot of people are getting to that point where they go, you know what, the relationship is hard work. I just want something that goes, yeah, that's cool. Oh, did you have a hard day at the office? Here's your beer and a blowjob.
Look, I mean, I get that. I really do. I've seen a few documentaries about the artificial intelligence and the sex robots that some of these nerds are building in their garages. Look, in terms of the attention to detail, the building of the code, and how it learns, and like when you look at it as a robot, right,
Machine.
as a machine, it is
It's
kudos to
impressive.
them. It's impressive. It's
It's
very impressive.
impressive.
It's very,
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
impressive. But my issue with it is, and maybe, okay, I'm married. I luckily have a very beautiful wife, and I've never been in a position or ever thought to myself that, because like you said, some of these guys, that's what they say. They're like, relationships are hard work. I can't find a girl that really likes me.
Not just
I'm
guys,
ugly.
women too. Hey?
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
There's
It's
a
also
lot of
women
women that
too.
say, I would take a robotic dick over a man any day. So
It's
because he's
true.
got stamina to go. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't snore. You switch him off.
Yeah,
So I mean, look, the pros. There's a lot of pros to this. But
yeah.
the downside is the human aspect.
That's what I'm getting
And
at. Yeah,
that may or may not be for everyone.
yeah,
So again, do I have a problem with it? It's not for me to say. It's like somebody that buys one of these real dolls. So I mean, all we need now, we've got those real dolls that look quite real. Now you just need someone to build the internals and the mechanics, not put those two together, which I think somebody's already looking at doing. Yeah.
yeah.
And you got a fully fledged kind of very weird looking kind of humanesque kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, um,
It just like I said,
so
it just worry. I get worried with the human aspect of it, you know. And I
mm,
do think for some, I don't know, maybe for some ladies when they see a man that has a robot, I mean, I would imagine that some of them, not all of them, some ladies
mm.
might feel a bit offended, like, oh well, is a human not good enough for you, you know? But I don't know. That only time will tell with
And it's a
how.
good question, but the answer to that is none of their fucking business.
That's true. That's true.
And that's just the reality of it. You know, if someone chooses to do something, you know, and again, just what I say, consent and freedom of expression and that kind of stuff, those are my sort of, major tenets. You can do whatever you want as long as what you're doing isn't hurting someone or that you are abusing your position of power.
Mm.
Now this is where another interesting topic comes in. With artificial intelligence, what kind of responsibility do we have towards it? What level of sentience does it have,
Yes.
and what response is it still just a machine? But if it's a consciousness that can think and it believes that it feels, does it now have rights?
Yeah. See, well, that's
And this is
where.
completely out.
Yeah.
That's another discussion. I mean, we can make that a topic for another night, like philosophical discussion, if
Yes.
you want to talk about that, because that is a fascinating element, right?
Yes.
Because what makes your thoughts more real than an artificial one?
Yes. Yes. We'll definitely talk about
Mm.
that another time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's
Okay.
it's okay. So what
Questions.
else? Oh,
Okay.
we're gonna go in
Cool.
questions. Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
let's see here. I'm going back to the questions. Okay, so Storm asked earlier, is porn in virtual reality taking it too far? I'll give my opinion. Um, from I I think I would put virtual reality. Ah, man, it's a difficult one for me. Okay, let me first explain why I'm gonna answer the way I'm gonna answer. I'm against porn. Shocker, I know, but I am.
Mm.
I don't, and it's for the reasons that Benner mentioned earlier, which is the industry is actually very. It's not a very nice place. Very demeaning to women, and
Mm.
also some shady shit happens in the background, like really shady
Mm.
shit.
Mm. Human
And
trafficking. Human trafficking. Like, I mean,
yes,
we can call a spade a
human.
spade.
Yeah,
Human trafficking. A lot of unscrupulous people that do unscrupulous things.
exactly. So when
Mm.
you even when you do strip, if you go to a strip club, it's the same thing. Human trafficking, all that stuff, and you're basically supporting that industry. If you maybe not in all cases, but in most cases, yes. And that's why when I discovered that, I became completely against supporting that because I have respect for women. I'm not trying to say that men who do that don't
Mm.
have respect, but I mean, I get it. Like we said, some men are very lonely, some women are very lonely. For whatever reason, they need it. Fine, as long as you're not hurting anyone. And
Mm.
I think there are some companies that do it in a safe environment, if I can put it that way.
Mm.
But they're very
There's
far.
there's there's actually female production companies, right?
Yes,
There's one of the bigger up and coming production houses is a female production company, and they specifically do things in a way that they consider is female ethical and female friendly, specifically because of this, right? So and and I totally agree with you. There's some seedy stuff that happens, right? Um, but there's a lot of these women, they say it's my right, this is what I want to
yes.
do, this is
Look,
what I want to do, right? So and that's how, so I and that's where I go, okay, cool. And this is where I think companies like these production houses that have above board ethical business practices and that kind of stuff,
yes,
that is where those are the kind of companies that they should
yes,
support if you can support a company.
yes,
But and we'll get to the trend analysis on what people are looking for, right?
yes.
And here's shocker above shocker is most people are watching amateur porn productions. Homemade Joe Blow and his girlfriend, not you, Joe Blow, but Jill and Joe, Jane and Jill,
Whatever you want
or
to call
or
it.
or Joe and Jim, so these so these um it seems like there is a much, and we can quickly go into here. So it's going to the Pornhub. They have their insights, where you can get access to all of their statistics. And this is actually, if there's any psychologists that are worth their salt, they would go get a lot of the statistics from there, because that will give them a very good insight into human thinking, right? And as like, I know a lot of people think a lot of the stuff is bad, but and I do agree, but a lot of people go and do the stuff on the slide because they feel ashamed and they won't talk about it, right?
Yes.
But the data speaks for itself. So the top searches, the number one top search in 2019 was amateur.
Wow. Wow. That's, yeah,
Was
it's very
amateur.
telling.
Number one. So number one. Now, I have my reasons why I think that is. I think most of us don't want to see these blown out of proportion, pumped
Yes.
up, people that look ridiculous.
Abnormal.
Yeah, they look abnormal. They don't look like normal human beings, and they set a standard that is for most of us just completely unattainable, right? So, and I think a lot of people don't want to see the rough stuff. They don't want to see the things. They just want to see some people just going like normal looking people. It's got a bit of flab. It's got a bit of, you don't necessarily want to see like two ogres rolling around in a sack of shit. That's also not what you want to see. Well, there's some people, because if you look at the second most searched thing, so amateur porn, number one thing searched for in 2019, and we're also seeing a massive surge in amateur production of a high quality, right? And I think this is a good thing, right? Because now you're removing the trafficker, you're removing the person that has abusing someone else, right? So now it becomes easier to demonetize and shut down people who do abusive stuff, who look that it's so again, we're moving towards this peer-to-peer type system where you're kind of cutting out the middleman that is taking all the profit and leaving you with nothing and all that kind of stuff, right? So and this is where these kind of platforms are going to, and I think that's where the next competitive area is going to come. These mainstream productions are largely going to fall to the wayside. There will still be people that buy them, but you even see a lot of the professional models, actresses, have now started their own amateur pages, and they only do so they don't really produce via production houses anymore because they don't see the need in it.
Yes.
So that is a good thing. That's a very good thing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So, well, exactly what I was going to say is, I don't like if you are a person that watches porn and stuff. That is just like I told you before with the weed. Like you can do it, it's fine, and it doesn't bother me. I hope that that issue does get sorted out with the whole human trafficking, and people can, like, if they want to go and do a porn movie, go and do a porn movie. That's fine. It it is heartbreaking when
If
you
you're gonna
find
have
out.
kids, if you're gonna have
Yeah,
kids and that kind of stuff, maybe kind of consider it, like
exactly. Yeah,
reconsider it, if you're gonna, yeah. But if you're not gonna have kids, you want to just sort of live your crazy life. You
do
want to
what you want to
travel
do.
and not work.
Do what you want to
You
do.
want to travel, not work. Just go,
But
do what you want to do.
going
Do it
back,
safely. Do it
yeah,
safe.
do it safely. Going back to the actual question, though. So now that you know my position on it,
Mm.
um, is porn in virtual reality taking it too far? I think personally, I think that's going to be a same with the previous question. It's a matter of
Mm.
perception and opinion.
Mm.
Some
Mm.
people are going to really enjoy that, and other people are going to be scared about it. I don't know. What do you think?
You know, um, I think technology is one of those things that you cannot stop. And with that said, how do you know you're not in a virtual reality right now?
Yeah,
I mean,
bring in
it's a
that
very
other
simple. How do you
conspiracy.
know? I mean, how do you know? How do you actually know?
You don't know.
You don't. I mean,
The
if
Matrix.
brain signals and brain interpretation is nothing but electrical impulses, and so yeah, and if we can't, talk about things like the soul and all that kind of stuff, like what are you really? Maybe you are in some form of a virtual reality, a form of a virtual reality, not maybe what we understand when we compare it to when we think about virtual reality.
Yeah.
But do I think that VR porn in itself is taking it too far? It's one of those things that yeah, I don't know. It's like
Yeah. It's hard to tell.
I've never tried VR porn. I don't think I feel comfortable with it on my face.
No.
It's I don't like I don't like the idea of like my whole head and stuff being closed up. Maybe if and there was some talk about like a Google Glass kind of thing
I'm aware.
where you could like your partner can wear theirs and you can wear yours, and then you can see yourself through their glass and they can see, which would be a little bit weird. So yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
why you'd want to do that. Yeah, but I mean, maybe there are some people that want to look at what it's like doing themselves. But I think again, coming
Oh,
back to is anything too far? The moment you start hurting people,
yeah.
and then that becomes a debate for scientific, doctors. I would look at neural function. Does it degrade neural function? Does it
Yeah.
degrade brain perception of certain things? There's there's definitely studies that show an overconsumption of pornography is not good for your brain development. Period. So it's
That's
irrespective
interesting.
of the format that it's in, especially in men. It's called the next EU syndrome, which is a very real thing. A lot of young men suffer from it and they don't even know it. It's where they basically watch so much pornography that they cannot actually get it up for anything but that type of porn, and it has to be like one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. So they actually overstimulate their
Mm,
body to the extent where they actually can't have like a normal erection anymore, and it leads to anxiety and forms of erectile dysfunction.
mm.
So,
But
but
just
on the
like,
flip side,
yeah, sorry. On the flip side,
no. On the flip side is that there's also, if people you watch healthy, what they consider healthy adult material, so things that show you how to have sex in a manner which is stimulating to both partners, not just something that is just, just for you, a quick rub out and all that kind of
mm,
stuff, then there's a benefit because you're building a stronger bond with your partner. So if you're able to make your partner orgasm to the extent where they want to bite a hole through your shoulder or something of the sorts, right? There is going to be a stronger bond. It's just brain chemistry,
yes,
So it's not something dirty to kind of say, because you do that, or you give your partner a great orgasm that now it's all like all it's literally there's nothing wrong with it. You actually want to have a strong bond with it. So consuming the right kind of material that gives you at least some kind of a tips like how does the body work, how can you extend your performance, how do you make so those kind of things I think are healthy. I
mm,
think they're healthy for adults to share, for a wife and a husband, that are feel comfortable with it because you don't know what you don't know,
yeah,
right? It's quite simple. So I think there needs to be a healthy balance.
mm,
So to me, there's a good side and a bad side, and for each person, it's for their own line to choose where that line lies.
yeah, absolutely. We have another. I thought this is also another interesting question. If you are in a committed relationship, would watching pornography alone be considered cheating? Again, another interesting question for sure, but
Mm,
that is also going to be a matter of preference and opinion because I know of a couple. I'm
mm,
not going to mention them by name, but I know of a
mm,
couple. They're very close to me, and they have openly said to me that if their partner watches porn, they don't see it as cheating. But
mm,
I know of other couples where
mm,
yes, the wife or girlfriend or whatever would
mm.
see it as cheating. So
Yeah.
it depends on
It it's again, it's a very subjective thing, So my personal opinion is kind of like this, is if you have to hide it, then it's wrong, right? So if you feel that somebody shouldn't have the right to tell you whether or not you may watch something or touch yourself, or uh, I I was in a relationship where my girlfriend had, we couldn't have like we weren't able to be intimate for quite some time. This is many, 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 and um, and I was understanding of, so we went to doctors, we went to all kinds of things. I ordered some things from overseas and these kind of stuff. And but as a man, you kind of need to, kind of do knock some things out. Otherwise you have this build up. You get tense. You might end up having a wet dream, which can be quite embarrassing if you're a grown ass man. You know, so you kind of do what you have to do, and she was uncomfortable with that. And I was like, well, and it's a tough thing, because it's my body, it's my body, it's my choice, right? And I get that, I get the argument that it may make some women feel less worthy or less valuable, and I totally understand that argument. But there is the other flip side of the argument that it's not about you at that point in time, So if you're not able to be intimate with your partner, right, for whatever reason, maybe a medical condition, or you just don't want to, then you have absolutely no right to tell that person that they may not touch themselves or consume something that may aid them in that process, right? Because if you're not participating, who are you to say that they may or may not? Now, the question of whether it constitutes cheating, and I think this is where it's important, is to have that discussion.
Yes.
Is absolutely. To at least just be honest. Just be honest, Fortunately, my wife, she's like, this was actually one of the first things. I mean, like I met my wife years and years and years ago, one of the first things, that we spoke about was, funny enough, this kind of topic, and she was just, her mind was blown that a woman would have a problem with her boyfriend kind of masturbating. It was just like she didn't, so for her, it was just, so what? It's not really a problem, you're not doing anything wrong. I know where you are. And this is the other side. It's like my dad, he's a very old school kind of, like, I come from a very conservative house and that kind of stuff. But I grew up in a neighborhood which was a little dodgy, and I think my dad and them kind of knew this. So when I was a teenager, when they would go out, like my dad was a little, he didn't really have like a talk with me, but he would like leave money for pizza for delivery, and then he'd say, "There's nothing in my cupboard," and then there's like I was like 16 years old, 17 years old, and there's like a skin flick, so my dad knew, like, him and my mom would go out, and he would know where I am the whole freaking night.
Yeah.
He'd know I wouldn't be leaving the house. Plus, I've also got to, educate myself, I suppose, So, and it's not maybe, it's not necessarily for everyone, but that's how I think my dad managed to kind of do it without having uncomfortable conversation, because he's not very much like the talkative type. To go, well, listen, my boy, I think we need to talk about the bees and the flowers, eh? No, he's like, here's some skin mags, here's a movie, go check, make sure your womb is always pleasured, like, don't make any babies before you're like this in this age. That was like
my dad was pretty much
discussion.
The same.
Yeah, and so they weren't very, very good in that instance, but my dad was very sort of open about the fact that, boys kind of do their thing, and it's kind of like a male. And some of us have higher libidos and some of us have lower libidos. It all varies. And I'm not saying there's a one shoe at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I agree with you. I think I've met many different types of girls. Like, I'm talking about like female friends that would complain. Some would complain about the boyfriend who goes and masturbates or watches porn, and others didn't. Others were like, I don't care. Like, I'll watch it with him. It's a personal preference.
It really depends on the situation. Yeah. Does it affect your relationship? That is the question.
Yes.
So if your partner is masturbating to porn, but not has no interest in being intimate with you,
That's a
you
problem.
know, then there's a problem,
Yeah,
you
that's a
know.
problem. That's a big
Um,
problem. That's
and
a
that
big problem.
problem may be because of many reasons. Or maybe it's, you know, there may be some inherent shame or something with them, or maybe they, you know, they're just too embarrassed to say, but they just can't get it up, or they feel something, you know. So there may be a plethora of reasons. But I think the key is here is that you first need to understand, does it affect your your personal life? If it does do harm, then you need to address it. If it doesn't do harm, then, you know, it's one of those things you got to decide: is it a moralistic argument for you, or is it one of those things that you can accept your partner for who they are?
Well, we don't have any other questions so far. So, is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
I think some of the interesting things that we can just mention quickly is that how the coronavirus affected porn consumption.
Look,
So this is quite interesting.
you told me this off camera, but I wasn't surprised by the result, to be honest.
Yeah,
I mean the
yeah,
numbers were
yeah,
crazy. The numbers were definitely crazy. But I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
with everyone
The
being
fact that
locked
it
in,
increased.
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, and this is just sort of just a quick sort of worldwide. We're at the end of our time anyway. So, um, at the 1st of March, you know, they show a variance in the traffic changes from 1st of March till the 12th of April. At the 1st of March, there's a variance of about 2% to 0.2%. You know, in terms of your average to each day. Then it starts climbing up from about the 5th to the 17th. It goes up by a variance from between 2 to 10% in a jump.
you,
That's in, that's like what, that's like 7 days or something like that. Then another week on from that, it goes up from between 10 to 25% differential. It's a
show us the
massive
screen.
spike.
Show us the screen.
Yeah, yeah. Let me just throw it up here. It is so fascinating. Ah, you can see that.
One moment. There we go. It's up.
All right. So yeah, you can see 1st of March, and this is given as a percentage change in traffic compared to an average day. So it's a comparative chart, right? So you can see like the highest point is at 20. So it's a 26. Like the peak is a 25% increase, right? And that's around here. You can just see how it's just like absolutely just spiked up,
Yes.
you know, over that period. You know, as people got sort of more into the lockdown and around sort of
Payday.
payday, you can see this sort of around payday, where I think either a lot of people didn't get paid, you know, because a lot of time porn consumption, there's a direct correlation to stress and stress release
Mm-hmm.
to porn consumption. And there's another other interesting stat that they will look at here, right? So this could be just purely stress related, and people needed to just de-stress, right? And then sort of it comes down as they again sort of accept the new balance, you know, go back to normal. Here you see is a European comparison. The European sort of peaking around here at about
It's the
18%.
same thing.
United States just like a
Whoa!
41%, like just like they were just trying to jack this coronavirus out of out of the system. We're gonna wank ourselves healthy, man. Everybody,
Oh my
take one
word!
for the team. Lube your palms, people.
Shit.
Yeah, you can see and you can kind of sort of break it down. Sadly, they don't have South Africa, which is quite sad. But that, you know, would have been quite funny. And this is just sort of like just shows the change in traffic. Fascinating stuff. So years again, sort of let's go back. This is from 2019. The second most searched item, alien.
What the?
Yeah. So people would rather watch amateurs, aliens, before they would watch normal productions. Then there's this Belle Delphine. There's that girl that sort of sold her bathwater to people.
Wait, I'm gonna sound
As
like a
that
I'm gonna sound like a prune now. What is POV?
that's point of view. That's
Oh,
kind of like,
virtual
so from your
reality.
perspective, so this is like virtual, yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Cosplay,
Yeah.
mature, bisexual, and then so it's you don't even get into the normal stuff.
What the
It
flip?
just goes to show that um, production type stuff is arguably on the way out. So I mean, arguably a lot of these guys have to be in like producing alien porn or producing, so the normal straightforward stuff is just it's just not happening.
What the
It's
flip, man?
just not happening.
Alien.
Alien, alien. Yeah. And years years ago just shows how there's like some popularity spikes on certain days.
It's all, you know what? The popularity spikes look at like payday. It's like towards
Mm.
like because people get paid sometimes on the
And
30th, also
yeah, yeah,
mid-month.
yeah, yeah.
Jeez.
It's so I mean a lot of these things you can so yeah you can go see most search terms for 2019: Japanese, hentai, lesbian, Korean, Asian, stepmom, weird, massage. Uh, so you
Yeah,
go,
there are some of those that I would have expected to be number one.
yeah,
That is
most
weird.
searched most searched porn stars, female, 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 male. So there's your first male.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's and looks like the only one. Most searched male porn stars. There you go. And then most viewed verified amateurs.
What
You
do
see
they
the
mean?
amateur numbers.
What do they?
So these are verified amateurs. So they verify their so they have their own accounts. They verify their accounts. So they get paid for
Uh,
each news. So they get a portion of the ad revenue. You can also send tips and that kind of stuff. So these various ways on various platforms. There's different platform where there's you can pay like $1.50 for a video or $5 or
mhm.
$12. It really just depends. But I see here by traffic. South Africa, we're still not featuring, man. Jeez, you guys are letting me down. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe South Africa just hasn't released the statistics to them. I
No,
mean,
no, they were. We were in some of the. I remember reading stats from 2 years ago when we did feature. We had a major spike in, funny enough, lesbian porn searches from South Africa.
interesting. Well, maybe we're too stressed about the government to worry about.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, these things. I mean, it may seem crazy to
Wait,
go
go
look at
back.
a lot of
Go
these.
back. There was an interesting map there. Shit. Yeah, there. The world's most viewed categories.
So Russia and or Europe, hentai all the way.
Wow.
So the
Japanese.
Chinese certainly seem to like the Japanese porn.
Australia.
Cent-
Australia and Brazil. And
America,
America.
South America, Australia, obviously Africa would be
Yeah.
ebony. We've got Arab,
Arab.
obviously an
Yeah,
Arab
that makes sense.
Arab country, and then
Damn.
anal, yeah.
What are the countries that like anal? Damn, what the fuck's wrong with you? That's
Hungary, that's like Hungary, Czech, and all that kind of stuff.
yeah,
They're
but
very
there's
much
also one in Africa,
into
north of Africa,
they
next to Arab.
yeah yeah. This would definitely be due to the Italian influence. Yeah. Uh, Dude, I'm serious. Italians love butt stuff, man. It's weird. I'm quite surprised that they actually have lesbian names. Anyway, um,
Maybe it's lesbian butt
uh,
stuff.
yeah, maybe who knows? It's the and then categories viewed the longest. So this is the stuff where and here you see top gaining categories.
Yeah,
Amateurs
yeah.
up 108%. Verified couples up 93%. So couple porn seems to be taking off in this. So for those people that may have been lost their jobs due to the pandemic. You could always just like hide your face, put on some masks. There's a lot of people that completely blur out, so you don't know who they are, and they make and there's a there's an interesting I found an interesting article on Reddit from one of these amateur models. So they said, I'm an amateur model on Pornhub, ask me anything, one of those AMA. And I asked like how much does she make or how much do they make on average? Because Pornhub advertised you can make up to $10,000 a month. Now, think about that. $10,000 a month
That's a lot.
for just having sex with your wife.
That's a lot. That's a lot of
That's a
money.
lot of money. And yeah. And you don't even have to see your face, you know. So it's an enticing idea, right? I mean, you put it into your hands and say, you know, that all of a sudden now becomes like 160, 170,000 rand.
Yeah.
Like, you see, all of a sudden just like, well,
No, I wouldn't. I couldn't, man. I don't have the body. I don't know. I couldn't do that.
dude, do not. But this is the thing, right? Again, this is where most people make the mistake. Look at those numbers, 108% in amateur. And when you go look at the amateurs look like amateurs. They look like everyday you and me. Because why? Why is that? Because most guys aren't big, ripped studs. Most of us aren't. Let's just call a spade a spade. Most of us aren't like these ripped studs with like
speak for
these
yourself, man.
dicks as long as your arm that sort of walks around like this, you know, like that's not us,
Yeah.
right? So it's in the same way that a lot of magazines set an unrealistic expectation of women.
Yes.
Same in the way that the porn industry sets in, you know, so it's, you know, like I said to my nephews as well, like they're teenage boys, and I said to them, look, you guys have unfettered access to this stuff. I said, just understand, this does not represent real life. Okay, it's not real life. These are people that get paid. They are actors. It does it specifically, and you can see there are with a lot of stuff. There are certain themes that are being pushed that, you know, dare I say, tries to make us a little bit more amoral, you know. So if you look at like stepmom, that kind of thing. So it's almost like trying to normalize the idea that if you live in a broken home, you know, mom and dad split up, you know, then, you know, having sex with your stepmom or your stepdad is okay. It's just one of those, you know, and that's where I'm kind of like, is that really where we're going to naturally? Or is that just what's being pushed as a fetish?
Yeah.
Again, you know, and I definitely think there is some agendas with some of these things, without a doubt. If you start watching the trends for long enough, you can start seeing it. It's just and let's see, is there some other interesting most searched term on Pornhub? Gay? Camp
Korean.
buddy. Oh, Korea. Work on to Korea. Most viewed gay academy. Straight guy. Daddy.
What?
We're back.
I'm not worried.
So I mean, it also, I mean, it does give you
Some insight.
good insight. Yeah, look, I mean, like to think that this world doesn't exist is to have your head in the sand, right? It's just like I said, it's just interesting. I find it fascinating because you never meet people that go, yeah, you know, I watch porn, you know, yeah, cool, you never. But you look at the numbers, you go like, my bro, like half of the world is fapping. Like, so half of you motherfuckers are lying.
That's very true. But I think like if you look at like also like the Sexpo, which doesn't exist anymore. But I mean, you know, you said now like not a lot of people come out and say like, oh, I don't watch porn. But if you went to the Sexpo, shit, everybody
Why?
there.
But no, ask yourself why though? Why though? It is because it's interesting to us. We're interested in why we want to have sex. Because
well, I think we know why.
It's such a raw urge, right?
Yes.
It's raw, it's real. I mean, as a guy, you know, like there are days when you feel like an animal, where we like literally just want to climb the wall.
Yeah, that's
like, and that's not natural shit. That's not just like because I'm a brew, I feel pumped. No, that's freaking hormones, dude. And that's just Like
Yeah.
just as women have cycles, they found in the month. There are periods of the month where your chances of getting laid is way better than other chances, like, because it's ovulation, it's just a cycle. Men, we go through the same thing. There are times when we go through the month where you feel like I can now put I'm about to drill a hole in the wall.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
it just happened.
All right, so I'm going to just look at our comments here because we Storm and Trace are really enjoying this topic. Um,
It's usually the girls that do enjoy this topic more than the guys, and this is the truth, eh?
let's see. I'm just looking sex psychology. See, like I think we answered this. Is sex psychological, practical, or both? Can a relationship function well in the absence of sex, regardless of age? I feel like you're asking like a lot of questions in that. Like there's so like because okay, so like let me bring it up again. Is sex psychological, practical, or both? Again, preference. Can a relationship function well in the absence of sex? Again, I think yes. In some cases,
It
maybe
can.
it can. Yes,
It's
and
Yeah.
regardless
It,
of
it can.
age,
Mm,
that's very
mm.
vague. But what are you trying to say there? Are you trying to say that like an older gentleman that's dating a 15-year-old, which is illegal, but is that what you mean by absence of sex due to age? I'm not really sure what you mean by age,
I
but
think maybe she's like saying, at what point in time in your life is it okay where you go, okay, look, sex isn't really important in your life anymore. Kind of
when you
like,
hit
if what I'm
60,
if it's what I'm reading between the lines,
yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So and again, I think that very much comes down to the couple. There are couples in their 60s and their 70s that are still like going at it like bunny. And that's just who they are. They're healthy. They've lived, the kind of life where and they just rediscovered them, and they're still going at it. And if you go into like the swinger culture, it's mostly older people,
that's true.
45, 50 plus.
That's true.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
It's just that's the demographics. Some younger people, but mostly older people. And
And
I think it's also, there's people get to a point where they actually get more comfortable with themselves and who they are, and then they will either go, look, this is my life and I'm just gonna be this asexual being for the rest of my life, or they go, you know what, I'm changing my life and I'm gonna have all the sex that I can while I can still have it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Storm here says, should violence in movies be seen as the same way as sex scenes? Both can have an impact on the impressionable, yet violence
Mm.
gets mainstream treatment. Wow, that is actually a very good question,
Mm.
and I personally, maybe they go hand in hand in some cases, but yeah, man, I don't think we can control the machine, if I'm
Yeah,
honest.
look, I mean, sex is a very interesting thing, right? Because people have very strong emotional reactions to sex. People often have a sexual reaction to violence. So you often have violence and sex going hand in hand. So so especially if people often like they're involved in an accident or like in some form of scare, like they have a major scare, you'll find that they'll have like what's called like a frantic bond, like frantic sex after that, because it's like almost you have this, like there's adrenaline that was dumped into your body. You feel all of a sudden you feel stronger, but you also there's like this reconnection to life. Geez, you survived this. So there's this almost like, hey, you're alive. Life is amazing. You almost died. Copulate.
Yeah,
It's a very weird thing. Like, I mean, if you look at the plant world, right? The moment that you stress a plant, like a female plant, if you cut her or whatever the case is, she starts like proliferating seed. Like she's like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. She's like, oh, just go nuts. And I think humans have a very similar kind of reaction. The more you are put under pressure or you get close to that kind of like push to your edge, and you come back from that, you're almost like you want to embrace, and you want to embrace life. And embracing life almost, to my mind, means being intimate with someone,
yeah,
because it is the most vulnerable that you can be with someone else.
it's
Like
very true.
you,
Yeah,
like you're naked with all your warts and your, all that kind of stuff. It's a vulnerable moment. I
Yeah.
don't care who you are. You can be the sexiest person in the world, but you're still gonna have a butt pimple that you're gonna feel uncomfortable about. This is one of those things.
Okay, cool. So there was an interesting chat that these guys were having in the chats. They were talking about escorts, and Tracy asked, "Is there such a thing as male prostitutes?" Yes, and
Of course,
Storm
yeah.
answered, saying they're also known as escorts. And then Tracy started to ask, "Where can she find one?" So the conversation got a bit weird.
Look, it depends. Look, it depends where in the world you are. I think you're gonna. I don't think they're classed as essential services, so I don't think you're gonna be able to get them. But our government will fuck you for free.
Oh man. Look, with again with escorts, that's, yeah, you don't want to support that industry. And again, if you do, there are companies that are quite on the level, and there's ones that aren't.
Interesting take this, right? So Australia, in Australia, mate, Australia, prostitution's legal, right? But you have to go to the brothel. And when you get there, you got to put your junk underneath a light and they check out your dick. Is your dick sick, mate? If your dick is sick, mate, sorry, you're not getting your dick in here. So they tightly control
Mm.
the things so that it is safe, And prostitution is the oldest, one of the oldest jobs in the world, And again, if you look at human and animal kind of psychology, it's very similar. You know, why do men do what they do? Why do women do what they do? Right? Women do what they do because they are trying to pick the most appropriate partner possible for possible offspring creation.
Yeah.
That's at a very subconscious level. Very, 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 very subconscious level. We also have sexual pleasure, we have sexual emotional connection, all that kind of stuff. I'm not discounting any of that. Right? But that is like a very, very primary thing. So that's why I think, escorts, they will always be around. And I think that's why keeping those kind of industries illegal actually causes more harm than good. And the simple reason is because the moment you make something illegal,
Mm.
there are people that are willing to break the laws
Yes.
to supply the demand. Right now, anyone that is willing to break the law on some things may be willing to break the law on some other things.
Yeah.
And this is where it starts stacking up, right? And this is where I think the example of the amateur porn and that kind of stuff, the sort of peer-to-peer business market, if you take that same approach, where there's some regulation, where there's safety, etc., can be ensured, I, I don't see why two consenting adults make a business transaction, and phew, man, it's difficult to say, because you could say that person's being exploited, but there are a lot of people that, and they do it because it's worth it for them. They don't have any other qualification. They don't want to go do another qualification. They decide, you know what, I'm gonna sell my dick for the next 5 years. I'm gonna make my money, and I'm gonna,
Yeah.
be safe, and I'm gonna get out.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have that kind of moral to kind of things, and my software background ensures that I don't have to sell my dick.
Yeah. Same here.
So yeah. You're supposed to back that up, say yeah. But yeah, not against it, but again, for me, it comes down to there
Safety.
shouldn't be an abuse of power.
Yes. Absolutely. I agree with you. And
Mm.
yeah, it seems like Tracy and Storm also agree with you. They're nodding in approval, and yeah. Look, guys, we've gone way over time.
Wait,
And
but I told you it's a spicy topic, man.
it
I
is a
mean,
spicy
like,
topic. It's a
it's
fascinating
interesting.
topic.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we did it. I see nothing wrong with the conversation. Opens up people's eyes a bit. Look, to recap, the adult industry. Um, Sorry, I got a comment, an interesting comment here from Storm. Joe, I think you. I, sorry, I'll link you to a Jim Jeffries bit about an
Mm.
Australian brothel. Thanks, Werner.
Yeah, that's a brilliant bit. That's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant bit. You have to watch it. It's excellent.
All right,
Go
cool.
wait yourself.
um, So to recap, obviously the adult industry has had an impact on tech more so. And as you were going through it, I think this was what was fascinating me is like as you were saying it, I'm like, well, duh, that makes sense because that was happening. I maybe I didn't realize it, but it made as you were saying
As
it, I
to
was like,
why. Yeah.
yeah,
A
it's
lot of people don't realize a lot of the tech that they have in their hand today is, comes from the adult industry. You have people, in the same way that the microwave comes from the, military industry. There are some industries which we often shun. We kind of shun them and say, oh, we don't want anything to do with them. But we happily accept the developments and the things that come out of them that make our lives easier.
mm,
So, and I think, and that's kind of like the place where I think it's interesting to get people to kind of open up their mind a little bit and say, it's not all bad, it's not all good.
mm,
So, and if you say in life, you can whittle everything down to black and white, then you've kind of missed the point, of nuance and of nuance and context and all that kind of stuff. So, but interesting nonetheless.
yes.
So, what should we talk about next time?
I'm gonna leave it to some of the guys watching that are still watching. Okay, I think we've encouraged some friendship here because Tracy has given Storm her number, um,
For
and she
everyone to
was
see.
asking for an
Well,
escort.
now we have, now we all have the number. Thank you for sharing. We shall phone it. About that male prostitute, I have a contact with.
um, but yeah, anybody who watches this after the fact, please let us know what you would like us to talk about at maybe a later episode. I think what you had some interesting topics previously. What's the first one that comes to your mind that we should talk about next?
Geez, yeah, I did think I mentioned some, I think we should maybe like at some point in time start talking about some of like the psychology stuff. And there's some interesting stuff around there that we can talk about. We can maybe um, talk about, I don't know, anything. That's the cool thing. I thought this was an interesting topic because it's very much data driven. It's purely from a data and a data analytical perspective, which is what I always find fascinating. I'm a techie, so anything that's got data or tech or that kind of stuff, I can talk about for hours. Cannabis industry, I can talk about for hours. Um, geez, what else? Psychedelics, I can talk about for hours. How that has influenced our culture and human development over time.
Yes, that was the one. That was the one last time that you mentioned.
Mm,
You said that you had some interesting things about that when it comes to like shrooms and all that stuff.
mm. Yeah, yeah,
So
no.
let's talk about that next. How you can give me the title again because you're very good with this title.
Okay.
Because with drugs, it's also one of those things that
Yeah.
YouTube and Facebook are very iffy
Yeah,
about.
no, look, I mean, we're in no way advocate anything. We really just look at things from uh, just a pure date,
Yeah.
what does it say? What does the literature say? What does the experiences say? I mean, I've got no problem saying I've taken various plant-based psychedelics. I've never taken chemicals. I personally have a rule that says, don't panic if it's organic. So,
That's a good
so
one. That's a good one. Yeah.
look, but again, I've taken things in what they consider ceremonial spaces, so not recreational kind of things. And so we just, but we'll definitely talk about it. I personally think it's a fascinating subject. It also ties back into the whole simulation that we're living in, like the simulation
Mm.
reality. So I think definitely worth talking about.
Cool. Then that will be our next topic. We'll do it on. We'll discuss that later. For now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you,
Watching.
Storm and Tracy. For Tracy says now, good one. So thank you, Tracy, for watching, and thank you, Storm, for
Yeah.
watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Please share
and
this with
and
people.
spread the word if you thought this was entertaining, if you thought people could learn a little bit about the adult industry and tech, the next time that they look at their phone,
Yeah.
that they know, look, this was, somebody spread their legs for them to have this. This is serious stuff.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please stay safe. We'll catch you at the next one. This has been Let's Talk with Werner and Joe, how the adult industry impacted tech. Good night.